Average velocity, 0. Quiz 2019. Can the average velocity be equal to 0 even when there is a non-zero uniform acceleration? A, yes. B, no. Positive x is defined as to the right, negative y is vertically down. So what is the definition for average velocity? Average velocity is not final velocity minus initial velocity divided by 2. Average velocity is final velocity plus initial velocity divided by 2. Average velocity is final velocity plus initial velocity divided by 2. If average velocity is 0, so if the left side is 0, what does that mean? That means the right side is 0. And the only way you can have the right side equal to 0 is for you to have final velocity plus initial velocity equal to 0. When is final velocity plus initial velocity equal to 0? When final velocity and initial velocities have opposite signs. So if the final velocity, let's say, is pointing down, let's say the initial velocity is pointing up. So if the initial and the final velocities have opposite signs, but equal in magnitude, of course, then you expect the average velocity to be equal to 0. Implies final velocity plus initial velocity is equal to 0. Final velocity and initial velocity, they have opposite signs. What is a real life example? So if you throw something vertically up at 9.8 meters per second, let us ignore air resistance. And let's say we are very, very close to the surface of the earth, uniform acceleration. So let's say you throw something vertically up 9.8 meters per second. It's going to go like this and come down. But on the way down, your velocity is going to be negative 9.8 meters per second. Positive x is defined as to the right, and positive y is vertically up. So you are going to get negative 9.8 meters per second on its way down. Because on the way up, the acceleration due to gravity reduces the speed, and on the way down, the acceleration due to gravity increases the speed. So for that reason, as long as you are at the same height, if you throw something vertically up at 9.8 meters per second, on the way down, you expect it to be negative 9.8 meters per second. If you throw something vertically up at 20 meters per second, on the way down, you expect the velocity to be negative 20 meters per second. So what is the average velocity between positive 20 and negative 20? It is 0. What is the average velocity between positive 9.8 and negative 9.8? Is 0. Why? 9.8 plus negative 9.8 is equal to 0. So 9.8 plus negative 9.8 is equal to 0. Similarly, you have 20 plus negative 20, and that is equal to 0 as well. So average velocity is equal to 0. What does that mean? It means that there is no displacement. So if you start at A and come back to the same point, your displacement is 0. Your average velocity is 0. Average velocity is 0. Please don't forget, it is initial velocity plus final velocity divided by 2. It is because of that negative sign that you get the average velocity to be equal to 0. One thing that you may want to note is that I have exaggerated the displacement along the horizontal just a little. Our motion is strictly along the vertical, all right? So it is going to go and come back along the same line, okay? Thank you. And this is George Mathew signing off, always on your side. Please do not forget, I'm signing off for both myself and for my dad.